Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Today I want to be discussing about the 1.21 update and the mob vote. With the Minecraft Live just a couple days away, I wanted to give my predictions for 1.21 and what we are looking at with the mob vote discourse in the community. So let's start with what I think is the biggest thing I want to point out. Back in September, there was a Minecraft video released featuring ducks for some reason.
Our next top story, duck! We've recently released this video. We had no idea ducks is what you wanted from us, and have already started panicking and rebranding the game accordingly.
And so it's actually kind of funny I spawned here because this happens to be, of course, a river biome. I think what we're going to see is we're going to see another overworld update. As much as I would like the end update, let's be real, everyone wants the end update. I think we're going to see them include some waterfowl in Minecraft, specifically ducks in potentially river biomes, maybe plains, maybe forests. And I think on top of this, what we could be seeing is either an update to the plains, which, let's be real, the flowers are nice, but it needs it. It needs it a lot. Or maybe even forest. If we're talking oak or birch, I'm not sure. I don't know too much about the ecology of ducks, unfortunately. But I think it's very possible that we'll be seeing more to the overworld ambiance updates as they have been doing since 1.17 now, with the caves, the cliffs, the swamps, the deserts, the cherry blossoms. I think we're going to see rivers and potentially plains or forests get the same treatment now. In this situation where we're seeing potential for forest, forest to get the update, I'm very curious if we might see a world where the Savannah update will come into play with that, promising the ostriches, the termites, and the baobab. I don't know how you pronounce the tree, unfortunately, but I think it's very possible we will be seeing updates to the rivers, the plains, or maybe some forests, maybe throwing the savanna in there to continue the promise of adding the biomes. If we're not seeing forests, though, and we're sticking mostly to plains, I'm kind of curious if we could be seeing the potential for the desert and the Badlands to get their updates, similar to the savanna. Oh, what? I have never seen that happen before. Similar to the Savannah, the desert and the Badlands are still due updates from previous biome votes. I would absolutely... Oh, hey, an Azaria tree. Cool. I would absolutely love to see something in the way of the Oasis, the Meerkat, and I believe it was Palm Tree for the desert. Yes, it was Palm Tree for the desert. And if we're talking on the Badlands side of things, we were promised the Vulture... Wow, this is... Oh, hold on. No. Let's do Wooded Badlands. I believe we were promised the Vulture... I don't think we were promised a tree. I think we were promised tumbleweeds and, if I'm not mistaken, a new type of cactus. Which I think would work in really well if we're going more on the plains side. This is, of course, all speculative and kind of hopeful-centered. But I think it would still work in if they want to keep an overall cohesive update for the flatter ones, or if they want to stick to forested ones. Oak, birch, and savanna could all work really well together. I would love to see that birch art come into play. Let me just... Hopefully editing me remembers to include that in the duck video. I forgot to leave space in my speaking for the duck video. Sorry. I would love to see what they would do in this case, where if ducks were kind of secretly the pivotal thing, right? I think that would be a very interesting way of going about it, where it started where the ducks happened to tease the river, which led to either the forest or the plains. Obviously, I'm not super sure on that. Another thing is, in announcing Minecraft Live this year, we happen to be given a little bit of structure. And obviously this has not been an uncommon thing, but they did happen to feature the Stronghold and the Ancient City a little prevalently. So let me just... So the Stronghold, one of the probably oldest structures in Minecraft at this point. I'm not exactly sure on I'm not sure on exact timings, of course. But this thing has been around since for so long. I would imagine at least 1.00. Obviously, the Nether Fortress came before that, and a few others. I'm sure of that much. But what I think, we're not going to see an end update, but could we be seeing an update to the various structures? A lot of people in the community have complained that the loot tables have become a little stale. The smithing templates have, of course, added some benefit to all of this, right? Like, they've helped this. But that still said, like, why is it not an enchanted book in... Well, I know they can, but it's bad RNG, but I'm not even seeing that many chests in here. So, like, the fact that this is supposed to be leading into the final late game stage, and we have 2 chests here. I got unlucky enough to have neither of them have a book, unfortunately. I'm thinking we might see some rebalancing of various structures and loot tables throughout the game, including the potential for them to revisit newer ones, which have been a little on the more OP side, maybe bringing them in line a little bit, right? But if we come down here, I will say, the Ancient City, I'm not a huge fan of this place, but it looks amazing. This looks absolutely amazing, and the fact it's even attached to a dripstone cave, that's just awesome. I think we are dealing with a situation where we could be seeing various updates to loot tables and maybe even structure generation. You know, structure generation has been a little buggy. That's the whole thing behind... Oh, hey, diamonds. That's the thing behind all the, like... Oh, look at this crazy sea where it happens to be a pillager outpost on a woodland mansion with a witch hut. I know that was one a while ago. I think we definitely have huge potential to see some changes to old structures and maybe even get a couple new ones. I would like to see what they could do with, like, a plains temple, for example, could be an interesting concept. I don't expect that, but it could be a fun one. Now, with all that said, I do want to go over a little bit of my views on the 3 mob vote contenders. So let's go back to, of course, it's a little up there, I know. The Savannah. I'm going to start with the Armadillo. Probably, this was initially my favorite one of the 3, as I really like the idea of wolf armor. Wolves, in my opinion, have needed a long overdue buff. Oh wow, wolves, in my opinion, have needed a long overdue buff. They're very fragile, the AI isn't good. I'm hoping that the armadillo does win, we'll see some revamps to the AI for the dog, but I doubt that, of course. But one other thing too is, as a friend of mine pointed out, the Savannah doesn't need the ambiance update in our opinion, just because it's already promised that it's gonna get its biome vote stuff, the ostrich, the termites, and the baobab tree. So the armadillo is cool, but I also find it to be somewhat of a niche circumstance where it's like, okay, this is cool and all, this is awesome, I love it, but at the same token, I don't think it's going to be hugely practical. I think it's going to end up being in a very niche situation of mostly being used by builders for like a fantasy medieval style, not medieval, militaristic style of world. And that's not super practical for a lot of players, is it? So moving on from that, let's go to the mangrove swamp, where we will talk about the crab. The crab will be able to drop a crab claw to allow you to build further. Some are still debating if it will allow for breaking further, PvP. I personally think we're just going to be seeing placing further. And with that in mind, I don't like how it technically feels like it's endorsing rechecks, and I don't really like that. It feels kind of scummy to me. It feels very meh to me. As well as, even, like, I'm trying to become more on the builder side of things, but I still just don't like how it feels like it's technically endorsing rechecks. It also is in the mangrove swamps, which I don't feel this really needs the ambiance as much. I guess important for the ecosystem. I've seen a few things about that, but this already has frogs. The roots and the mud give it a very overall nice feeling to me already, where it's like, I feel the ambiance in the mangrove swamp is probably the best in the game, beating even taigas with campfires and sweet berries and foxes, or the mountains with the goats and powdered snow and all that. I don't think this needs it. And I will say, with that said, I am looking to vote for the penguin. I acknowledge it's probably going to lose, unfortunately. But if we talk about the penguin, it allows boats to travel faster. Again, on the information side of things, similar to how we don't know how much wolf armor will help. We don't know if the penguins will be able... Oh, hey, awesome. Don't know if the penguins will be able to help with ice boats, right? But with that said, I still feel this would provide a nice amount of ambiance both to the stony shores, although this is a bad example, as well as to the oceans around them. I feel it would give a very nice touch, similar to the turtles with beaches. I think it needs the ambiance the most out of all of them, for sure. It is weird to me, though, that they're not going to be in, like, a frozen ocean. Frozen oceans also could have used the ambiance. You know, just thinking, like, Antarctica and all stuff like that, right? But, still, I like it. But, with that said, I also forgot to put myself back in creative. Let's talk about the big elephant in the room, real quick. Stop the mod vote, right? The community has pretty much just decided Mojang needs to stop. Let's be real, every year, the mod vote has been rigged in one way or another. The sniffer sounded a lot better on paper, at least. And I do like the sniffer, don't get me wrong. It was maybe a little lackluster. I would like to see a little more in the way of seeds. But the two are still very nice and very colorful, right? Still, that doesn't change that every year, it feels like a lot more and more of the community is getting just fed up with the idea of being teased with 3 mobs, said that they could be added later in, but they're not. They're just never added. And I want to give a couple of examples of where I feel they screwed this up. Because I'm definitely on the board, I'm definitely on the side of hashtag cancel this damn mob vote. But let's talk of a few examples. Going back to the 2016 update, yes, we were told that they had no intentions of ever adding the 2016 mob vote losers, where the Phantom won, and we lost the Great Hunger, the Creature from the Deep, and the Blazing Inferno. But let's play hypothetical and say they reverse that, right? In the Nether update, the Blazing Inferno would have fit right at home in the Nether Fortress. 1.17, I would argue the generation changes could have done well to... Oh, why do I have to spawn in a cave? I feel the generation changes could have seen the Creature from the Deep also added with the caves portion of it. Or even the Great Hunger, again going back to the 2016 vote. If we're talking the 1.20 update, which I'm going to because this happened to be right here, right? I feel the Moo Bloom, even the Glare could have been right at home with the Cherry Blossom. The Moo Bloom would have fit so at home here, just change the biome it spawns. I think that would have made this just even better, if that's even possible. I do love the Cherry. I just hate how they generate, honestly. This is a little annoying to chop down, right? But still, I get it. But the Moo Blooms would have been right at home here, I feel. Another thing, too, is if we're talking about the 1.19 update and looking at the Wild update, I think the Glare could have also fit in here with the Deep Dark, if I could find a cave. As this would have very much, like, still fit in with the update, in my opinion, with this new, like, crazy generated swamp, as well as this very malicious looking area. I think Glare in general would have been a good addition to fit into this overall update. I don't know, maybe provide a nice brevity to it, where it's like, okay, there's a little silly, goofy cry there, right? Because the Glare, I like the Glare, it looks a little dumpy, sorry. But they just, all of these, they've said that at least for the ones after 2016, 1.13, that they could still be added. But I feel like that's at least 2 or 3 times they have missed relatively good places to add them. And I don't know, it's becoming a little suspicious to me that I think they just never really intend to add these, right? I know the Moo Bloom and the Glare weren't particularly solid winners on this, though I know the community does regret the Moo Bloom a lot. But, I don't know, they still all would have fit in so well, in my opinion, in the respective updates. There's also potential for the 2 golems, Copper and Tough, there in every update, in my opinion. But how likely is that too, right? I don't know, I will say, I do feel 1.20 and 1.19 felt a little weaker compared to previous years. But obviously, like, revamping all of the terrain gen, that's kind of huge, so I get it. You need, like, the break updates too, right? But anyway, now I want to... Let's do this. Now I want to talk about what I want to see in the future of Minecraft, right? I would love to see another round of some form of a bountiful update. I'm talking things like maybe include some kind of system similar to Farmer's Delight, similar to Pam's Harvest Craft, where we get like actual real life food. It could also be a good way to update the Nether and the End a little bit, similar to End's Delight and Nether's Delight. I don't know. I feel the food system is good. I like what we have, but it just feels like it's been the same for so long. And another round of like new crops, fruit trees, like this could be so interesting and give such another round of depth for survival players, right? Imagine this tree just had like little apples and oranges scattered on it instead of like, oh, each leaf has like a, what is it, like 5% drop for an apple? I don't know, just some changes to the food system would be good. Not even changes, additions and add-ons. Another thing, the entire community has begged for this at this point, the inventory. This needs to expand in some way, shape, or form, or there needs to be a way to stack similar items, like if you have, like, let's say stone brick slabs and stone brick stairs and stone bricks. It just needs to be revamped a little, right? One idea I had would be like add a round of another row, but have the various slots be like advancement locked. So it almost encourages like speedrunners or people on SMPs to do different what do you call it? Do different advancements just for the sole purpose of getting more inventory space. And I personally am down. I like doing advancements myself. They're a fun little challenge usually. I'm not a big fan of them. Some of them usually just because things like wax on, wax off, for example, just feel like they were there to showcase a particular feature from an update. Like the fact that you can just wax copper blocks to keep them in whatever stage. I do apologize, but this honeycomb, sorry. This feels completely unneeded in my opinion. Like these two advancements did do nothing. Like once you get a suitable amount of copper and a honey farm, that's pretty much just done, right? It was so unneeded in my opinion, and I'm not a fan of stuff like that. But I'm talking things like Return to Sender, Hot Tourist Destination, and the advancements can even scale too. We could start like with one of the easier ones being maybe like Hot Stuff gives you one, and then launch it into something like, and then another example could be like Hidden in the Depths, or what's it called, the beacon one where you bring it to full power? Like bringing home the beacon, I think is. I think the only two advancements I would discourage from being on this list, and yes, there are a few that probably should, like 2x2 maybe shouldn't, but I'm fine with that one, is Adventuring Time and How Did We Get Here? Just because the number of effects you need to have applied at this point is ludicrous. And honestly needs to be curtailed a little bit, right? On the other side of things, instead of the inventory update, what I think would be really interesting is just revisiting how some of these old trees generate. I mentioned I'm not a big fan of how mangrove or cherry blossom really spawn in, but obviously, like, this kind of thing isn't so realistic too. I would like to maybe see a world where like an oak tree could spawn. Hold on, let me do this. Wait, let me just trim it off of the other trees. Could spawn something a little like this in a like simpler way of the acacia trees even. And then, of course, apply leaves around this how you wish, right? Something like... I still want it to feel similar to what it is now, because I do like what it is now. But having this would be a nice little extra touch of realism, and a form of realism that I would like to see in Minecraft. You know, I will say, games don't always need to be super realistic, but just seeing stuff like this, where it could be like 1 or 2 off, I think would be really nice, personally. And I think it would just give the world a little more feeling of depth. Spruce I would probably keep the same, just because this feels relatively indicative of the conifers I've seen in real life. Pine trees, for example. But I understand that they changed those too. Dog oak is maybe one of the other ones I would say that it's fine if they don't, just because in general the dog oak feels a little disconnected from the real world, so I do kind of like how it is. Plus also it's short and stumpy. Making it lean too much doesn't make sense. Another thing I would actually like to see them revisit is, and we're all in agreement on this one, right? I don't think there's a person in this community who doesn't want us to see the end finally getting updated. Please. Like, I'm sorry, Mojang, it's been way too long since it's received any meaningful update. I know there's some really great... Oh, hey, a Lush Cave. I know there's some really great updates for the end already. In the form of mods, like Young Strongholds would be cool. But Young Stronghold is a good example. I think it was a Backseat Cat use that as an example. But this island is so plain. I understand that this largely stays the same, but this island is still just the same, and the fact that it's still just so plain, and the fact that the entire end basically looks like this with some purple like flower trees. I'm sorry, it needs an update, Mojang, and you need to stop holding off on it, right? I would love to see. I know some mods, like I think it was Beta End, add the phantoms into the end to give them a little more use. I would absolutely love to see something like that. But yeah, those are probably the biggest changes I think we need to see. We need to start seeing them add the mob vote losers in. We need to start seeing them add the other biomes in. I would love to see an overworld, an inventory and an end update, and just some changes to like how the nature spawns. Like this lava lake, I'm sorry, I hate finding random lava lakes. It's useful when you need obsidian, but this is a little meh to me, right? As well as just, I don't know, more choices in food could be fun. They don't all have to be super practical. Beetroot, beetroot, beetroot. One other thing I would like to mention too, I would like to see them finally do another round of redstone updating, if nothing else for parity purposes, but that's minor and trivial, unfortunately, compared to a lot of the other stuff, right? But anyway, I want to thank you all for joining me in sticking around to the video. Please, if you can, like, comment, and subscribe to help the channel I have let die for about 2 years now.